When you hear most people talk about anime, they're usually referring to animated movies or shows made, for the most part, in Japan. That's why you don't hear most people refer to shows like Arcane or Adventure Time, as great as those shows may be, as anime. They stem from cultures and sensibilities so far removed from what we've come to recognize as standard for anime: the art and animation styles, the overly emphatic voice acting, the brand of humor, everything. However, that definition is evolving. In recent years, we've seen what can only be described as an expansion in the scope of that term to include the likes of animated adaptations of Korean webtoons and even Western IPs like Cyberpunk and Tomb Raider, and most recently, the freaking Terminator. That's all well and good, but it's always kinda struck me as odd that most people generally tend to exclude a fast-rising and incredibly prolific group from that expanded definition of anime: Chinese animation. And I don't mean Japanese shows set in China like Kingdom or The Apothecary Diaries. I mean actual Chinese animation. I can already hear the scoffs. I too was a purist once, but it didn't take long to change my mind, and after this video, I think you might too. Allow me to introduce you to Fog Hill of the Five Elements. What's up, anime fans and manga readers? Fog Hill of the Five Elements, or Wujian Wujing as it's called in its local language, I'm so sorry if I butchered that pronunciation, is a Chinese animated show that takes place within the fog-covered steppes of the sacred Shrouded Mountain. And if you couldn't tell already by that whimsical name, it's not quite a regular place. The Sacred Mountain is home to vicious monsters, demons, the stuff of nightmares, and the humans who happen to live there do so in terror. Eventually, they receive salvation in the form of 5 powerful aspects capable of wielding the fundamental elements that make up the world: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. You probably already guessed this from the name of the show, but those are probably not the elements you might have been expecting. You see, Fog Hill of the Five Elements is steeply anchored in traditional Chinese myths and folklore, most of which I wouldn't even pretend to understand, and it's the reason that these elements differ from the usual earth, water, fire, and air popularized by most other pieces of media, especially The Last Airbender. Anyway, these element-wielding aspects were able to seal the big bad demons away and save humanity from their eternal scourge. We experience this conflict through the eyes of the fire wielder Xuan, as he finds himself in the center of an epic conflict between the world of demons and that of humans. Now, I'll admit on paper that doesn't sound very new or exciting. We've seen dozens of stories explore the friction between the conflicting worlds of humans and demons, both in anime and outside of it. Everything from Devil May Cry to Constantine to Demon Slayer, and while some of these stories are already considered to be all-time greats, I've never seen the concept handled quite as it is in Fog Hill of the Five Elements. For the long-term viewers of the channel, you've probably already heard us say this a dozen times, but I'll say it again regardless. Execution is more important than originality. Fog Hill of the Five Elements doesn't reinvent the wheel. Heck, it doesn't even try to. What it does do is spin that wheel really smooth and really fast. Most people who talk about Chinese anime talk about one aspect a lot more than the others: the animation. After watching this show, it is really not hard to see why. This stuff here is unlike anything else you've seen on screen. In terms of art style and animation, it's the whole package. The characters and landscapes are rendered in a beautiful brushstroke art style somewhat reminiscent of traditional Chinese scroll paintings. This is already a treat to look at on its own, but seeing that art style in fluid motion brings it to a whole other level. As a kid, I grew up watching a lot of Chinese action flicks. You know, the ones with Jet Li and Jackie Chan man. Even back then, I could appreciate the attention to detail in the fight choreography, the scope and scale that they strived for even with the limitations of live action. I always wondered how much further they could push that, and watching this anime gave me a definitive answer. A lot further. The fight scenes are grand and intricate and epic, every hit is impactful, every frame looks like a frickin' painting, and the music is simply sublime. Just when you think they cannot possibly take it any further, they crank it up a notch. It's a unique experience watching something like this, knowing it was perfectly crafted to draw out one specific reaction: hype, and it succeeds at that flawlessly. You might have noticed that I haven't talked as much about its story and characters, and that's because there unfortunately isn't too much to talk about. Without any spoilers, I'd say that they are serviceable and entertaining for what they are, but it's clear that they are not the main draw of the show. They really only exist as a vehicle for the audience to experience the unique and beautiful world that they exist in, one packed full of lore and world building. And you know what? That's perfectly okay. Fog Hill of the Five Elements is a complete story, having run only from 2020 to 2023, and there are only 7 episodes in all. Granted, they are each about 2 times the length of your average anime episode, but still, it's a pretty quick watch. If you're in the market for an exciting watch that'll only take a day for you to breeze through, you can't do wrong with this one. And for the gamers out there, who knows? Maybe it'll fill the void when you're done with Black Myth Wukong. I know it did for me. Anyway, that's all we have for today, folks. Do you agree with our take? Maybe there's other cool stuff about Fog Hill of the Five Elements that I left out. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell to get regular updates on new videos. I make awesome anime and manga content like this every week, so be sure to check them out. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.